Hey guys, Panda here. This is a different kind of video than I'm used to making. Today we're gonna go through all the killers in Dead by Daylight, and I'm gonna rank them on a tier list here. This isn't like a sort of meta competitive type tier list. This is more of a which killers that I prefer to play, and which ones I think are a lot of fun. And without further ado, let's get started. First one is Trapper. So the Trapper is a very basic killer, but I think he definitely needs a buff, as I'm sure most of the community would agree. Having his traps be like scattered across the map is super annoying, and only being able to carry so little unless you're using add-ons is also annoying. And like by the time you go around the map, pick up your traps, set them in ideal spots, you know, 2 or even 3 gens could pop in that time, and that's just no fun. But when you do get survivors in your bear traps, especially multiple, that is very satisfying and very fun. But unfortunately for me, that does not happen often. But I would say he's about B tier, maybe even C. But I think it's just my lack of bear trap knowledge on some maps that makes it unfun for me. Next is Wraith. Wraith is a very solid killer. Very versatile. A lot of perks will work with him. A lot of his add-ons are really good. He has a very hit and run playstyle, and I think it's really fun to scare survivors when they don't see you coming and you uncloak in their face, and then you see them do like this sort of panic. That can be really fun. Getting flashlights in the face though, not so fun. I will put him in A. Next is Huntress. The Huntress is a very, very, very difficult killer for me to play sometimes, and then other times when you're landing your hatchets, you feel very overpowered. Especially when you get those long-range hatchet throws, which very, very rare for me. But Huntress is gonna go in the S tier. Again, very versatile killer. A lot of perks will work with her. A lot of her recent add-on rework. Really nice, gives her a lot of different stuff to play with. She can be very, very satisfying and fun to play, as well as frustrating when I'm missing those hatchets, but definitely an S tier killer. Next up is Cannibal. Cannibal is... I said this in the video I uploaded earlier, and I think the Cannibal is a good new player friendly killer, because his chainsaw, very easy to use for the most part. Maybe navigating through some tricky tight corridors or something might be hard for some new players, but overall he's a very easy killer to use. He's infamous because a lot of killers or new killers like to face camp with him, with the whole like basement face camping Insidious build, but I don't do that. I think it's really unfun to go against, so I wouldn't do that. He does have one of the best killer perks in the game though, barbecue and chili, but aside from that, I don't really like playing him that often. He's okay to play every once in a while, but for me, Cannibal is a C tier killer. Next up is Doctor. Doctor, he's okay. I like to do the annoying skill checks build with him, and it's funny to see a lot of players messing up, but as you get to like higher rank survivors, obviously they start messing up less and less, even if you do like really difficult skill checks. I like using his AoE blast, and then hearing a bunch of people scream is always kind of fun. But other than that, he's okay. He's not really someone I prefer to play. He does give you some nice blood points though, so I'm gonna drop him in C tier. Next is Nightmare, or Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger has a lot of stuff going for him. He has your choice of dream snares or dream pallets. I prefer the snares, as I'm sure most people do. He has a global teleport. He can teleport to any gen, which is really, really great. And you can really mess with survivors with that too, because you can sort of like fake like you're gonna teleport somewhere, and then you know, mind game it. He also can't be seen if they're awake, but you have a heartbeat, and then if they're asleep, they can't hear your heartbeat anymore. He has a lot of advantages. But is he really fun to play? Kinda. I like the mobility of being able to teleport everywhere a lot, and I like sneaking up on some unsuspecting survivors when they're asleep. But overall, he's like okay. The dream snares are an okay power to use. It's not really satisfying when a person steps in your snare. But yeah, next is the pig. The pig is actually a killer I find really fun to play. She, first of all, she makes a really cute noise when she gets stunned by a pallet, if you never noticed. I like sneaking up on people while being crouched, and you can see them get scared whenever you do the ambush attack and she does her little roar. She's not the best killer though, and she's one of those killers where she can be really strong if you bring some really mean add-ons to in a game like the purple crate of gears and the tempered timer add-ons are really mean. But if you don't bring any, or if you bring like some pretty basic add-ons, then you're gonna have a hard time. But I like her kit, I like her design. I just wish she was a little bit less add-on reliant and had more add-on diversity. But for me personally, she's an A tier. She's an A tier. Next is Clown. Now I know Wraith, if he ever watches this, is gonna people leave, but I do not like playing the Clown. I don't think he is fun mechanically. You throw bottles at people, and even when you do get direct hits on a survivor with a bottle, it doesn't really feel as satisfying to me. And I get annoyed with the timing on using a yellow bottle, because I try to use that to speed myself up, but sometimes I end up missing, or I mistime it and I just walk through the yellow smoke and I don't get the invigorated buff. Yeah, he's overall just not really a satisfying, fun killer to play. I do think behavior needs to give him some nudge in the right direction. I'd like to see more variety in his add-ons, but he's gonna go C tier as well. Next is Hag. Hag is a killer that I don't enjoy, because the way she works is she actually doesn't want to chase survivors initially, because you want to set up her web of traps. She's basically a better version of the Trapper. Now, before I say this, I will note that she is a very good killer. She is. She's a very good killer when played right, and she can be very overpowered, and she doesn't even need OP add-ons to be overpowered. That being said, I don't like her playstyle, because again, you have to take the time to set up your web of traps, as it's been described. And even when you do, when I take the time to set up my traps, like sometimes I won't be able to teleport to a trap because I'm like in the middle of a chase, I'm hooking a survivor, like I'm on the way to hook a survivor or something, or I'm just like out of range depending on the map to teleport, and that's really frustrating to take the time to set up all these traps only for the survivors to set them off, and I have to redo it again when I'd rather just be chasing. When she does work, she's fine, but I found that I have to play really scummy, and I don't really like that play style. So for me personally, she goes D tier. First D tier killer. She's great, but I just don't like her play style of having to stop, set up traps, and it's not really satisfying when your trap goes off, unlike the Trapper, because the sound, the bear trap snap sound, is that satisfying to me. You know, now that I'm looking at it, I think I should put the Trapper in C tier, honestly. All right, next is Hillbilly. Hillbilly is a killer that I have always had problems playing with his kit. Now, it is very satisfying to chainsaw a survivor, don't get me wrong, especially when you get them constantly. But it is very hard for me to do those fancy hillbilly curves when you see them chainsaw around some objects and stuff. I cannot do that. Unless maybe if I'm using some really good add-ons, maybe, but for me, Hillbilly is a very hard killer to play, but can be very satisfying. And yes, I have tried using the binding Q&E to your camera, move to move the camera Q&E, and I still can't get those curves right. So for me, Hillbilly goes to C because he would have been D tier, but if it wasn't satisfying to chainsaw a survivor. Next is Spirit. Very controversial killer. A lot of people don't like her for fair reasons. But that being said, she is a very fun killer to play. She is versatile with perks. She can work with just about any build. And I think it's really fun and very satisfying when you phase right on top of a survivor and you see them. Sometimes they like panic or freak out a little bit, and that's very satisfying to me. But I do understand she's unfair to go against. But when you do well with her, definitely an A tier for me. Next up is Legion. Legion's a killer that I haven't played too much of. But I do like using their power and stabbing multiple survivors. But other than that, it's just basic M1 killer stuff. They do have this nice ability though, where you can vault over windows and pallets just like a survivor when you're in your feral frenzy state thing. But overall, just an okay killer, I guess. I would just put them probably in B. Next up is Plague. Plague is a killer that I used to hate initially, but recently when I've been playing her, we've been doing pretty well, actually. A lot of smart survivors know not to cure themselves, so I don't get the corrupted purge or the red vomit. But when you do get the corrupted purge and you hit multiple survivors with it, very, very, very satisfying. I like it a lot. But there's still times when I get frustrated with her because I miss the corrupted purge when I feel like I should have gotten it, and some survivors know how to loop around certain objects that make it very difficult to land any vomit on them, regardless of color. But for me, she goes B tier. I think if I play her more and I get better with her, and I'm getting multiple people with the vomit stuff, then probably A tier. I really tend to like ranged killers. Next is Nurse. We got the Nurse. The Nurse is, I'm sure, a killer you would see on everyone's S tier list. Because of how strong she is, and yes, she is very strong when played correctly. However, I am a person that cannot play her that well. When you do get multiple hits and your blinks are on point with the Nurse, yeah, she is absolutely fun to play and very satisfying. However, I am not one of those nurses, so for me, it does get very frustrating to try to blink on survivors multiple times and fail because they're either really good at mind gaming me with the blinks, or they loop me properly, or something. They're just able to make me second guess where I'm gonna blink, and I end up messing it up. So for me, she is around B tier because If I was a more consistent nurse, I'd probably have a lot more fun with her. So, but because I'm not, I'll either have games where I'm like really good and I'm landing all the blinks and then it's fun, but then most of the time it feels like I have a lot of games where it's just like, ugh, I missed a lot and it's very frustrating and not fun. Moving on is Michael Myers. We're starting to have some repeat killers here on the list here, so I'm gonna have to like figure out which ones we haven't done. Michael Myers is a killer I thought would be fun, but turns out not so much. He's kind of just like Legion or Ghostface, where you just chase people around with a knife. He does have that stalking power though. His tier 1 though is absolutely useless unless you're doing a specific build that revolves around it. And the goal is to get out of it as fast as possible, which can be a little annoying. And then his tier 3 is incredibly strong, and I thought I would like it, but it's not that really satisfying for me. I don't know what it is. I thought I would like it. Not really. He's an okay killer for me to play as, I guess, but yeah, his add-ons also not that great. And then they also have like the pigs problem, where they can be very strong, like the pink ones, but it forces you to bring some mean add-ons if you want to like be really strong with Myers, but it's not really how I like to play. I think his stalking power is, I don't know, it's not really a thing I like. He goes to C tier for me. All right, going to the next killer. I don't even know who these are. These, I think that's Legion here, but these are, why are these even here? These are so faded, it looks like. Anyways, Ghostface, also another killer that I thought I would like. Not a fan. He is a killer that you have to actually be stealthy with, otherwise you get punished for it, unlike the pig. Ghostface is similar to Michael Myers, where he also just stalks people, but instead of gaining tiers, he just gets the ability to insta-down them. He's also a basic knife M1 killer. It is a little satisfying to sneak up on unsuspecting survivors and scare them, and to be able to insta-down them sometimes, but it's not really how I like to play. For me, he is a D tier. Demogorgon. Demogorgon's actually really fun. I like his lunge attack. His lunge attack has so much value. I don't even use his portals a lot, but I should. His portals are very good for his mobility, can get around the map really fast. The lunge attack, the super fast shred attack he does, makes survivors second guess whether or not they can make it for a pallet or a vault or something, and I think it's really, really fun to actually hit those. So Demogorgon for me, I guess we'll use this icon, goes A tier. Next up is Oni. The Oni is a killer I did not like initially, and I still don't like. His demon dash is hard to control for me, and I have trouble landing his what do you call it when he bashes them with his other weapon that isn't the sword? Demon strike, is that what it's called? But either way, very frustrating to control and play sometimes. When you do get multiple survivors down, it can be fun, but I don't know. Other than that, for now, he's in D tier for me. I don't really like his play style. Next up is Deathslinger. Deathslinger I find to be a lot of fun. Nailing those shots on survivors, especially those tricky shots, can be super satisfying. For me, he goes, I want to say almost S, but I think A tier is fine. I'm trying to hurry this up a little because I'm seeing that we've been recording for like 20 minutes and I'm like, holy shit, this is a long video. Next up, Pyramid Head. I might be a little biased here because I really like the Silent Hill series, but Pyramid Head is a really great killer that I initially found frustrating to play because I didn't get how to aim his power. But when you do, oh my goodness, it is very satisfying, especially when you get multiple hits. Very, very good. And he's very good at denying, or at least making, again, just like the Demogorgon, he makes survivors second guess if they can take a window or a pallet because of his power. He also, unless it's like a window where there's like they drop a lot, like it's a high window, then it's fine because he can't hit them that way. But very satisfying to get hits through the walls when you mind read survivors, and putting them in cages, at least the animation when you put them in the cages is really satisfying as well. So he's gonna go S tier for me. He's fun when I can actually land his stuff, just like the Huntress. When I'm landing their hits and stuff, absolutely fun. Next up we have, who's next? Twins. Twins to me are very, very OP. I would say the twins are the strongest killer in the game, hands down. Just from my personal playstyle and experience, very fun to play and very, very strong. I like the videos I uploaded. I don't even have ideal perks for them, and we're already doing amazingly well. And they can snowball really, really fast. Victor, it's more like you just play Victor. Just as long as you're landing those Victor pounces, you're gonna win. Absolutely. Like 90% of the time you're gonna win as twins, and it's very fun to land those pounces. Not so fun to miss them because then you get kicked for messing up. But twins definitely go S tier in terms of fun killer to play and also very strong at the same time. At least for me. And then the next one is Blight. Blight, very hard killer to play initially. And it's also very annoying and frustrating when you don't bounce off surfaces that you feel like you should have gotten the bounce. You know what I mean? For all you Blight players out there, you know what I'm talking about? You're angling yourself for a bounce, but then you just kind of slide. Really annoying. But when you do land those hits as the Blight where you get multiple bounces and you feel like what's the word? Like you feel like a god because you predicted where they were gonna go and you hit them at the right angle. Very, very satisfying killer to play. If I didn't get so many like sliding off certain objects and surfaces and stuff, S tier for sure. But because that happens to me frequently, he goes A tier. I don't know if it's a bug or it's just me getting the angle wrong, but his bouncing is just inconsistent. If it was more consistent, S tier for sure. Next up is Trickster. Trickster would have probably been C tier before the changes, but because of his recent buffs, he's one of those killers where if I don't bring the unfair add-ons that make him really, really strong, then I'm not in for a good time. I don't like the changes at all. Except maybe main event, I think is okay. I still don't like that we can't hold main event and use it when we want to, rather than, hey, you have 30 seconds to use main event, or you gotta build it all up all over again. I think that's really, really annoying. That being said, yeah, Trickster, his buffs were in the wrong direction. I don't like the changes that much. And they forced me to use the purple add-ons that, you know, everyone uses now. I forgot what they're called, but the one that pierces players, and then the one that makes the blade shatter on the environment for extra laceration. But yeah, he's D tier for me. Once those two add-ons get nerfed, I probably won't be playing him as very rarely. He's very unfun to play as right now. Yeah. And last but not least, this is gonna be a long video. Last but not least is Nemesis. Nemesis is the last killer they've added. As a big Resident Evil fan, I was excited for them to add Nemesis into the game. However, that being said, he has a lot of problems that make him unfun. For example, the zombies, while they can be a really cool mechanic to play with, right now, your zombies are very, very inconsistent. They can get stuck in a lot of places and be completely useless. They can also just like be really, really dumb with the AI and just like not be valuable at all. But when they do work, they are absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing for you. They provide so much value. They can deny generators, they can block hooks, they can make windows and pallets unsafe. And it's really fun to do those sort of sandwich attacks where a zombie hits a survivor and then you hit them and then they go insta down. Those are really, really great. His tentacle attack, though, not so great. It feels like you're trying to hit survivors with a very, very thin noodle-like tentacle. And it can be frustrating to hit. And the thing is, it doesn't feel as powerful as it gains in tiers. It like, unlike Myers, who gets the ability to move faster, vault faster, and the ability to insta down, Nemesis, when he gets his tentacle to tier 3, it just hits a little bit further. At tier 2, it can break pallets and breakable walls, which is kind of nice. But I'm not saying he should get some like super strong OP power like insta down a survivor at tier 3 or some shit. That would be dumb. But I would like some sort of other utility bonus for tier 3 at least. But overall, again, he's an okay killer. He definitely needs a lot of improvements. His add-ons are actually really good though, because it has a lot of variety. You can choose to invest in your zombies, you can choose to invest in your tentacles stuff, you can choose to invest in the vaccine slowdown stuff. So I'm gonna put him in B tier. He's an okay killer to play overall. And that is it for the tier list. Sorry for the longish video. I tried to really zoom through a lot of the killers. Otherwise this video would have been an hour if I spent like 5 minutes talking about each killer. But yeah, what do you guys think of the tier list? Do you guys agree? Disagree? Where would you put certain killers in what tier? In terms of fun and ones that fit with your playstyle? I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up here. But if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, consider subscribing because I make lots of Dead by Daylight content. And we'll be back with our regularly scheduled killer videos, and maybe I'll try to make some other kind of fun stuff like this in the future. Maybe try to make them shorter. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.